No problem, madam. I'm so glad. Yeah, I am going to start off every politics stream, which is going to be in the middle of the days from now on in the weekdays. On Saturdays, I'm going to do a long form stream at night, but weekdays, Tuesday through Friday, from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m., I'll be doing some politics, and every single time, I'm going to do a nice light meditation, something easy that you can do no matter what. And I can't wait until that becomes normal. Uh, but I'm glad that helped you. I hope it helps in the future too. Got my coffee, and now we have the whole day ahead of us, and we're ready to be comfy through the whole thing. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter what happens. We can go forward. All right. So, this person over here, we're going to start with some political science and social science. In a new Science magazine study, we find black, Hispanic, and female officers engage in less enforcement and violence than white and male officers facing common circumstances. Now, what's amazing about this is that I kind of feel like, wait for it, we already kind of knew that. You know? So, yeah. It's not something that you immediately notice until... I mean, I think that, honestly, people would probably be able to catch that if they're actually, like, looking for it or paying attention, or their focus is to study this. But, it didn't click, really, that most of the videos, if not almost all of them, it's usually a white guy who is pushing down, somebody's face in the dirt, which is terrible, but it's true. And I have a feeling, I've been noticing this more and more. A lot of people are just really insecure, especially when it comes to supporting Trump and supporting, something like that. It is just really, it's really insecure white dudes. And I mean, I've been insecure. I'm probably still really insecure about some things. But I wonder what allows a person to feel so confident in their ability to do things and discern stuff. Now let's look at what he says. Now, the central hurdle, according to Jonathan Mamolo, in evaluating whether officers from different groups treat civilians differently has been accounting for context. Without the ability to compare officers facing common circumstances, any differences in their behavior becomes ambiguous. Makes sense. Most police datasets don't allow these apples-to-apples comparisons. They often aggregate to large units of time and space, or don't account for shifts in which officers were deployed but took no enforcement action. We show any of these can lead to mistaken conclusions. Really interesting. Average estimated effect of deploying available black officers versus white. Wow. What is that? Let's see. Comparison with common incorrect analytic approaches for estimating deployment effects. The figure displays the divergent estimates of deploying a black officer relative to a white officer on arrests per 100 shifts. So let's see. Within the MDSBs, retaining zeros, correct analysis. Okay. Within the dropping zone, research design, recovering deployment effects, common research designs confounded by different deployment. So there are less arrests when trying to retain zero. Okay, well, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but let's see. Deploying black officer relative to a white officer on arrest per 100 shifts, that results from having the course of incomplete data available in most prior studies, either lacking microdata on the times and placements, lacking data on officer shifts in which officers take no enforcement action, or both. That's a little confusing. Okay, these data constraints mean much past work had to assume that white and non-white officers are randomly assigned to neighborhoods, but that's not true. Oh. For example, in Chicago, black officers tend to work in areas with more reported violent crime. Whoa, that's a bit oof. Majority race, Hispanic, none. Okay, white. Okay. Black officers, yeah, that's definitely more in their own field, if you will. Uh, Hispanic officers with mostly Hispanic areas. White officers are in Hispanic and white areas. And then female officers are actually mostly in black communities, it seems. Interesting. But I wonder how mixed the ethnicities go in there. And then let's see. It's a lot of data sets. To account for these differences, we merge behavioral micro-level records of where and when Chicago patrol officers were deployed. We then compared the behavior of officers working the same very narrow slices of time and space. What do we find? In short, when facing similar civilians in comparable places and times, officers from marginalized groups engage in much less enforcement activity and violence than their white and male counterparts. This is so weird. Somebody, please, peer review this shit. Ooh, pardon me. Sniffly today. Sniffly. Let's see. So, black officers made far fewer stops and arrests and used force less often than white officers facing common circumstances. Differences equal to 29%, 21%, and 32% of average white officer behavior, respectively. Hispanic and female officers showed reduced activity too, by similar margins. Very interesting. These reductions are not uniform across encounters, they are concentrated on the treatment of black civilians. For example, reduced use of force against black civilians accounts for 83% of the overall force gap between white and black officers. That's a huge gap. That is a huge gap. That's not something that you're going to be like, oh, well, it's not noticeable. Oh, well, it's just a statistic. That's like, dude, black people do not fucking try to be dicks. Like, that's what it's saying. Man, that sucks. It sucks that this is the reality we live in, but I mean, it's right there. If the data correlates, you know, I hope that someone peer reviews that and tells me that it's not wrong at all. That'd be interesting. Okay, so reductions vary by civilian demographics enforcement type. So there's black officers versus white, Hispanic officers versus white, female officers versus male. All right, so civilian, black. Let's see. Stops per 100 shifts, arrests, and force. That's a lot, dude. That's quite a bit. That is a really damning bit of research there. Overall, our paper shows that diversity in policing can have a tangible impact. Also, all else equal, deploying a black, Hispanic, or female officer instead of a white or male officer leads to substantially different on-average treatment of minority citizens. Some important caveats. This is a study of only one city. We need many more. We need many more. Why isn't this happening everywhere? That's what I want to know. What's the deal? Let's see. It is difficult to extrapolate these results to learn about the effects of future hiring. Recruitment pools can change all the time, as can agency culture and deployment patterns. Evaluating the impact of diversity in policing will require ongoing analysis. We were only able to conduct this study after years of open records requests and multiple agencies, with some data only released after appeal. This has to change. It should not take several years to find out when, where, and how police behave in a single community. I cannot believe that it took that long. Seriously, why isn't policing... Why not policing? Why isn't public safety records available to the public? It's kind of a thing. As major changes to policing are debated, it is vital that police agencies become more transparent. Credible answers to many long-standing questions are sitting on police agency hard drives. We need not rely on hunches and intuition when charting the way forward. Very nice. Seriously. Very first response to this, John Thompson, replying to him and 4 others, I'm reading Black, Hispanic, and female officers engage in less enforcement, which to me reads, they enforce the law less often. I think it's more that they are less brutal when enforcing the law, allowing them to serve and protect people from themselves in some instances. If you brutalize and are hot-headed, the enforcement doesn't protect or serve anyone but the abuser. The brutalizer. There we go. There's my rhetoric. Alrighty. Does that include Hispanic males? If so, did this study need to come to Miami or go to Texas? I think it needs to go everywhere. I would love to see this study in every city. Why not? I mean, there has to be some kind of connecting link in the subculture in Chicago of white police officers. There has to be some kind of link, right? Or some kind of psychological diagnosis that shows, it determines, hey, this is what is happening. This is why you're so much more brutal than your peers and your coworkers. You know, like, why would it be that only white dudes are doing that? It's really interesting, and it's something that we should look into because it's kind of important. You know. All right, that's a really good study. Really enjoyed that. We're gonna go to this one. Gun bust on a party bus in Brooklyn. Whoa. Okay, let's read that. So, let's see. All right, we see a picture of a bus. It's nice. It's a really nice bus. It looks like a rich person's bus. It's got like a truck front almost. Let's see. February 12th, 2021. This was today. Large presence of police were seen just after midnight where the bus was stopped on Front Street in the Dumbo section of Brooklyn. The NYPD took several people into custody after stopping the party bus that was reported to have weapons on board. Police stated they had previous information from social media about passengers on board armed with guns. Cops found more than half a dozen people on board with weapons. Jeez. That's insane. What is this? Oh shit, it's a video. Holy cow. So what were they doing? Jeez. Hey! Zip ties! Nothing. No, I mean it's pretty bad, but besides just seeing the bus a bunch, doesn't look like there's any more information. Hopefully it's nothing crazy. Hopefully everybody's safe. Okay, first of all, I don't do a lot of shoutouts. In fact, I very rarely ever talk about most other people. Only because I'm just starting this. I have no idea how to do this right. But everybody should watch this video from Hannah and Jake on the Hannah and Jake channel on YouTube. They are amazing skeptics. They are the most lovable atheists I've ever met in my life. Ever seen in my life. And they have been friends on YouTube with very, very little, if nothing, when it comes to drama. And they're just a ton of fun to watch. I highly recommend watching this. So there's my shout out to actual Jake and Hannah, who's super cool.